my friend. Very special guest, and also and his work is with masters of the universe, including the art box of MOTU Revelation, and his name is Eamon O'Donoghue. Welcome, Eamon.
Hey, what an intro that is! I don't think I've ever had a song sung about me before. Not that I'm aware of. I mean, there might be some people singing songs about me that I'm just not aware of. I think Emiliano sings songs about me in his sleep.
Okay, thank you so much. I love your T-shirt that you have right now.
Yeah, well, I had a choice of a lot of Master Universe T-shirts this morning. I was actually going to go. I was looking for my Calvin and Hobbes one, but I just figured this one works better.
That's super cool. And the first question is this: how you discover your talent?
How did I discover my talent? By hating school a lot, really disliking school, and being in the back of the class and drawing a lot of barbarians and naked warrior ladies on my school books. Seriously, some of my early school books, I couldn't. You know, when you were in school, you had to sell off your school books to the year that comes after you. Yeah, you couldn't do that with my school books. Well, they might be worth something now. Couldn't do that with my school books because they've all drawings all over them now and stuff. So yeah, I was drawing from an early age, and I just liked just drawing and things, and then I think Masters of the Universe came along, and straight out the door you were hit with the artwork, both on the card back, and then in the mini comics, and then on the painted box arts. Then when you got, so most of us would have gotten a He-Man figure, and then a vehicle at Christmas or birthday or something. So it was the introduction of the kind of more comic book style of Errol McCarthy and Alfredo Alcala, and then onto the William George and Rudy Obrero stuff then for the boxes then. And I was like, once I kind of saw the box art for those Master Universe figures, and and the Meatloaf Bat Out of Hell cover. That also excited me as a kid. So I saw all these things, and you can see that they're all kind of dark fantasy type things. So it was just, that really just kind of fired me up. I know it just hit me. You know, it was kind of the early 80s, and was kind of the hot time for dudes who wore very little and had very shiny muscles.
Awesome. And speaking of the creativity in general, there is different way to discover, to growing up as an artist. For example, as a writer, you can, I'm a writer, so you can writing and read books, and you find the way to grow your talent, or school of writing, of art, or also work with some guy that maybe have a bigger experience of you or older than you, that because of that you can steal a little bit their experience. In my opinion, I'm also a musician, so I think that the better way to growing up as an artist, to growing your talent, is do that. So writing, play music, drawing, and because of that, and working with someone that maybe have a big experience than you, and because of that, you discover your way. What is your opinion about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was definitely kind of pulled in a little bit into the art direction by a friend of mine who was a better artist than me, and he was, I'm sure we've all had that friend that first introduced us to Led Zeppelin and first introduced us to Conan or whatever. There was always a friend that kind of introduced us maybe to those, or maybe an older brother or whatever. And for me, it was a friend of mine. He kind of got into these things first, and then he kind of got me into drawing. He got me into probably the way that I do draw, the shading and the just sketching and stuff like that and things. But on a whole, I've been quite a little bit unfortunate, because I ended up growing up in a village in Ireland that I was literally the only one who drew. I was the only one who was into the things that I was into and stuff like that. So I was kind of on my own. And to be honest, I do actually think I have suffered because of it, because like don't even talk to me about my sense of anatomy and other things that I'm short on, that I might have been better at had I had just what you described, that someone around you that is a little bit more experienced. But you're in Italy, you've got artists everywhere, I'm sure. Or is that just a cliche? I'm sure there's lots of artists around. But in Ireland, yeah, not so much. You know, they're really, really. I was the only one kind of doing. I was the only artist in Ireland. No, I wasn't, but I was the only artist in my. You know, I was the only artist in the village.
Oh, but in general, for example, I live in a little town where I live in Italy, North Italy, and where I live, I'm the only musician of this little town, the only writer. And when I went on TV in Italy, in this little valley, I become like the star of the valley because no one do that, or just maybe another few guys. So depends in which part of your country do you live. I also believe for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think so. I think so. So I mean, I was living in, you know, the most kind of rural country, hillbilly redneck part of Ireland you can imagine. Really, that's kind of where I'm from, and I was definitely the only ones and stuff like. But you say you grew up in a small village too, and you were the only one as well. Is that true? Is that correct?
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. There is many. Yes, that's right. Many hillbillies also where I live. There is some farm of the people that still have a farm with the animals like in the old days. So I like that because I like nature. I surrounded by a forest. There is a medieval castle. So as a writer, as an artist, you put yourself too much sometimes. Sometimes the art take over of you. So live in a quiet, and natural town is good to relax a little bit in the when you have some little break from your work, in my opinion.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I'm a big nature person as well. So yeah, I mean, there's, you know, it's nice to be living in the countryside as well because that can kind of influence your way as well. You know, and when you have no one else influencing you, you can go off and go into some weird territories that maybe other people kind of haven't gone into either, kind of thing as well. So I know there's a few other artist friends of mine who are like completely isolated, but because they're isolated, they come up with some crazy mad ideas. Some of them work, some of them don't.
Cool. And tell me how started. What is your first work with the Master of the Universe franchise?
I would say the DVD covers for the UK market, for the Region 2 market, as they would have it. Yeah, I did a whole run of DVD covers for it was a company now called it's gone now called Contender Entertainment. It's the same company that James Etoch used to work for as well. So he did all the, you know, this is before the UK DVDs were the first official, I believe, the first official DVD release, at least English DVD release. I don't know if the French might have gotten there first, but I do know that England, the UK, and Ireland rather, got the first Massive Universe Filmation on DVD. And for those ones, I did all the covers for them and stuff like that. And it was like 12, 13 covers I did for them. I mean, my artwork is pretty bad on those now by my modern standards now. But, you know, it was my first paid gig. I had literally just left my other job to go freelance. And this is my very first freelance gig was a He-Man gig. And it was great getting that. So I was like, yes, you know, I mean, I was kind of new because up till that point I'd been kind of a graphic designer, and while I had done some illustration, I was doing mostly club flyers for raves and all that kind of stuff, and I didn't get much chance to actually physically draw a lot. So when I finally got the He-Man, those He-Man or early He-Man DVDs, they're essentially my first real attempt at professional drawing as well. So that's why they're a bit like rough around the edges, pretty rough. I'm being nice about them. They're pretty rubbish, not by today's standards, but you know, I was delighted to do it. And it was how I met like James Etoch, because he was doing all the auto commentary and all the presentations for the extras on those DVDs, you know. And I think those DVDs are still kind of nice because they're kind of like a fan set. They're not like the official, maybe as the ones that came later from BCI Entertainment. Which you know, Emiliano and Val kind of did a lot of work with, and David Levine as well. They did some great work in the BCI, the big box set, with the lovely embossed artwork and the scan artwork, the background artwork that's across all the DVD sleeves and all the extras, and because they got Lou Scheimer and everything. And so those are great releases. Those are. But yeah, long story short, my first big He-Man job my first big illustration job was a He-Man job, and it was the DVDs. So, which is pretty cool.
Awesome. And by the way, I'm still a big fan of the Filmation show because of the style of the characters, the design. I did many interview with some people that works with the Filmation. The
Robert Lamb.
Filmation, yeah, Rob Lamb, also Rob Goren, and Tom Cook also.
Okay.
But all these guys were in my show. So I like different show of Filmation, including Brave Star. I like also Filmation Ghostbusters.
Oh, now we're getting to Brave Star. I absolutely love Brave Star. I can boast that I have all of the toys with boxes. I also have lots of cells from the show. Well, not lots of cells. I got quite a few cells from the show. And
Wow.
I have the entire pan scan of Sarah Jane, the gun, 3030's big gun. You know, the beautiful pan shot where in the movie, Brave Star movie, where Brave Star walks into the temple and there's a light shining down on the gun. I've got that entire pan scan, and I've got the opening pan scan of New Texas as well. So it's the entire desert pan scan, and with the shaman's totem in the background. I also have the entire sequence of Brave Star and 3030 fighting. You know, where he gets kicked and he falls back, and 3030 cocks the gun and all that. Yeah, there were some guy on eBay about like 15 years ago was selling these for like nothing. And now, you know, for me, I just bought them. But we remember when on eBay about 20 years ago, 15 years ago, you know, cells and animations were going for quite cheap. As were vintage He-Man figures were going for quite cheap. Now, boom, it's going crazy now on vintage cells and figures and stuff. But yeah, no, I love Brave Star, dude. Love Brave Star. So ripe for a reboot, that is.
I hope also that coming in the future will be, because I have also the collection of action figure of them, of Brave Star, and also the 4 Carrion play set of Brave Star. And I hope that maybe in the future to have also a cartoon accurate figure for Brave Star should be.
Yeah, with the ponytail. It always annoyed me that. It always annoyed me that he's an Indian. He's not a white guy. He's an Indian. You know, I don't know why they made that with the figure.
Exactly.
I mean, I guess the figure.
And also to have some characters like Vipra, Cactus Head. This character we haven't had this character in figure form. My opinion, the only company that can do that. Exactly. The only company that can do that is Super 7. Super 7 is a company that can do that. And many times that I have Brian Flynn in my show, I ask him, please do that. Cartoon accurate figure for Brave Star.
I'd love that. I would love that. I do think Brave Star is one of those great kind of underrated concepts and ideas and toy lines from the 80s that just it should have been a bigger deal. It was just I loved the toys. I love the artwork on the boxes as well. I love the whole thing of Brave Star. We could do a whole separate podcast on Brave Star, but you need to get Stephen E. Gordon on your podcast, because he was one of the big brains behind Brave Star. He also worked at Filmation. So go check him out. I'll give you his details afterwards. You should go check him out, because
send me some details, because it will be very interesting.
Yeah. We can talk about Brave Star. But we're here to talk about He-Man.
Okay, back to He-Man and back to your work with He-Man. Tell me how started your work with the art box of Master of the Universe Revelation, and what is your style to do art box in general?
Sorry, you just broke up at the last part. Repeat the last part of your question there, please.
Okay, I repeat. The question was, tell me how start your work with Masters of the Universe Revelation art box, and also what is your style to do that, your process to the creation of this stuff.
Okay. Well, I've been working with Mattel on and off over the last few years. You know, I'd worked on DC Superhero Girls for Mattel, worked on a couple of other things, and I did some Hot Wheels, some stuff. And I think the Hot Wheels got me the attention of a guy called Roy Juarez at Mattel. And you got to understand, you know, I'm pretty on the case as well with trying to get Masters Universe work. I want to work on this. And out of the blue, I got a call from Roy Juarez, said we need someone to do the artwork for Revelations. We need the packaging as well. They needed everything, basically. They needed logos, packaging, the whole works for Revelation. And so I came in, and literally myself and Roy Juarez, we literally did everything. You know, it was me and him designing the packaging, illustrating the packaging. You know, the first thing we ever did was Moss Man, and we did that like quite a bit before the other ones, because I think the original plan was maybe to launch it at PowerCon and for it to be a PowerCon exclusive and everything. And it's a shame because they did this other extra bit of artwork for the outside of the box. That was going to be the exclusive artwork. I can't show it for another few years again, but it's like cool. I did this lovely artwork of Moss Man that can never be seen, sadly. And yeah, it was like the cartoon, the animation hadn't been done at that stage. All I was given was one style guide of each character. And so for Moss Man, it was like, I had nothing to go on. I literally had just one frame and stuff like that. So I was like, I kind of got a brief description of him, that he's a bit more of like an ethereal character. He's a bit more like Swamp Thing. And I was like, okay, cool. Let's just put him in a cool swamp and have a little bit of a nod to the old vintage card back of Moss Man. Which is kind of an idea we dropped as the boxes kind of went down. We said, it'd be nice to give nods to the original card back. And I'm like, but that's done in Origins, isn't it? They're giving nods to the old card backs in Origins. So let's just do really punchy, big, exciting artwork. So this, you know, there's the Origin style, there's the vintage style, but Revelation, you know, we wanted it to be big and exciting and you know, really show that the cartoon was, you know, this is like your old He-Man, but like on like dialed up to 11. You know, it's big, it's powerful and stuff. So the idea was to do really just we you know, it was to kind of be along the same lines as a lot of the other boxes. I know when the first Revelation shots of the boxes came out on the internet, people were like a little bit like, oh, it's a bit basic and plain and stuff like that. I was like, oh god. And that just happens, doesn't it? People just react to low-res JPEGs and they judge it and they just go with it. But as people have gone on, they've discovered, oh, it's got rocks, it's got ruins, it's got all these things in it. But we deliberately wanted it. You know, Roy and Mattel, they wanted it to be, you know, hold its own with Marvel Legends, Star Wars, Black Series, the NECA stuff. You know, it had to have that format. And we also wanted to have a collector-friendly format. That's why the boxes open nicely and you can put the figures back in, which is great. I want all toy companies to do collector-friendly boxes like that. And then it was just a case of like, you know, we looked at the Star Wars Black Series, look at the Marvel Legends, they got artwork on the back, on the sides. And we said, we'll go one louder, let's have 2 different illustrations. So the idea I came up with then was, let's do a really cool action scene on the back of the box. And then on the side, do something very stoic, very kind of, you know, very kind of posed and looking regal and stuff like that. And we just went about it from there. As it went on, I thought it would be a good idea to keep things nice and consistent with the cartoon, to get Eddie Nunez, who actually did the style guide artwork for the show, to redraw my pencils, to essentially go over because, you know, I did all the poses that I sketched it all up myself, and then what I would do is I'd send it over to Eddie, and he would just go in and literally correct my line work or go over it entirely with his own pencils, just to give it that more anime feel, because I had no access to the cartoon. I had nothing at the time. All I had was a few style guides, and he knew the stuff back to front. So he was able to take my poses and just cut them up a little bit better and just enlarge them, and just to get that stuff 100% on model. As you can see, I can paint my own style, but painting in an anime style is, you know, specific to the cartoon it's quite a challenge. So I was, and especially as you don't really have access to the cartoon. I can probably do it now because of access to the cartoon, but it was really great to get Eddie in, just because I cared about the boxes. It wasn't like, I get to do art, I'm putting my art on the box. No, I do other art for that. I do art prints. I do my own stuff. I want to do the best possible box art for Masters of the Universe Revelation, the Netflix series. And the best possible way to do that was to actually get the guy in to kind of go over some of my stuff, to get it a little bit more on model, to get 100% not a little bit, to get 100% on model. And after Moss Man, that's what we started doing then. So we got so you can see, if you go onto Instagram, you'll see my sketches, and you follow going to Eddie's, you can see Eddie's sketches then, and they're the same thing, but you can see that Eddie's just corrected my anatomy here and there to make it that kind of, because the muscles and stuff like that on the Revelations they're big and they're, you know, and even from the animation to the style guide, He-Man's style slightly changes a little bit in the actual final animation. He's a bit thicker on the style guide that I was working with, and in the final animation, you can actually see he's a bit more cut. So I know stuff like that, but it was an absolute joy to absolutely do it, you know. Yeah, so it was great fun to do those.
Awesome. It's interesting also that you start to work on that before that the actually show was revealed. So also you need during the process change something in your artwork. So it's a big challenge also for an artist do that, because you start with your concept and later you need to rebuild everything because you saw the show later.
Yes, exactly. I mean, like, had I known Mossman did this with trees coming out of his hands, I would have done something a bit more like that. I probably would have done something more along those lines. But I thought he was going to be this kind of spiritual entity kind of thing, and he kind of was. And he did do that one scene at the start. But had I known, I might have done something a bit different. But I'm very happy with what I did with the boxes, and especially on Mossman and stuff and things. And of course, we got the.
There is a message. There is a message for you. There is a message for you also.
Oh yeah.
There is a message for you for 1-6 shooter says, "Hey, Eamon, early for you."
I hope I don't burst into flames. Why? Because I got red hair. Not much red hair, and I'll tell you now.
Can you show me again the box that you showed before? I remember that. This is was the exclusive of San Diego Comic-Con. That's correct.
Yeah, this is the pièce. I should go this way. This is the pièce de résistance of my work. I mean, this is like the coolest thing I've ever got. Well, actually, no, hold on. We got this, and we got that. There we go. We got that little thing. I love this. I love this. And that was the Hot Wheels thing. That was kind of what really got me the attention of Wires. I'm so delighted. I mean, this to me is like I keep going to the left and the right. Yeah, I'm just so happy with that. It's just a little set, you know. I did a little illustration on the inside too. It's just really cool. I know it's small. It's not an Origins thing, nothing that exciting, but you know, I'm just really delighted with that. You know, that's me.
And for this one, for the Hot Wheels box, your reference inspiration was the vintage one. What is
yes, basically, if you see, it's essentially very heavily inspired by the original packaging art and stuff like that. I literally asked me, hey, can you try and paint it in the old style? I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll paint it in the old style. And I hope for the most part I kind of did that kind of thing. So, yeah.
And what is your feelings when you got the final project with your art on the box? What is your feelings?
Oh, it's pure joy. If it's a He-Man job, I mean, I've been lucky enough now to have quite a extensive lot of stuff made public and manufactured and stuff like my art on and things like that. I did other things as well, but doing Master Universe, doing this stuff, this is where it's at, man, for me. You know, this is why I got into art in the first place. You know, it's super exciting. It's such a very satisfying feeling, and just like the fact that this went down so well and it sold. I mean, it was going to sell out anyway, regardless. I think what box art was it, but the fact that, you know, people really love this, and this is literally only like it is just me and Roy Juarez who worked on this. I sketched it all out, drew it all out, worked it all out. Roy just approved everything. It was his idea to do a book, so it was Roy's idea to do a nice book cover kind of a thing. We wanted the idea to do a Magic Spell book, and again, we didn't have a clue what Scareglo's role was. All I was given was a brief description of Scareglow, who he was, and actually the figure's now. I've got the figure on the shelf at the moment. But that's
awesome. This is this box is a piece of art. It's a masterpiece. It's super cool.
I'm really happy with them. All my little skulls are all bumped and raised and everything. If that's the only San Diego Comic-Con exclusive I ever get to do, hopefully it won't be. I'm sure it won't be, but this is just the coolest thing to do a Master Universe San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, and you know, and it kind of essentially be all your work. Because as I said, the concept to do this was from Mattel, from Roy Juarez, but literally everything else is me. I drew the whole thing, worked it all out, did all the illustrations, did all the designing, and it's just a real joy to see, because this was a real labor of love. I mean, myself and Roy Juarez at Mattel, we worked very, very hard on this, and I put in a lot of late nights to get this done, and just for it to come out so well and for people to really love it the way they did, it was a pure joy. And again, it's a He-Man job. So it's always rewarding when people love your work, regardless what you're doing. But if it's Masters of the Universe, oh, it's great, you know?
That's super cool. It's super cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Also because I understand your feelings, also because, like me, you was a kid that collect Master of the Universe, and you saw for the first time at the time this artwork that gave to the kids to collect at the time, the story, also the atmosphere of everything. And now you do this stuff for a new version of MOTU. So you become you have the same role of the artist that did on when start vintage Master of the Universe. So now you are in the same role. It's super cool that.
I wouldn't go that far, to be honest. I wouldn't go that far, but it's nice. You know, it's nice to be invited to PowerCon. You know, if you're invited to PowerCon, that means like, hey, you're official. You made it as an artist, you know, kind of thing. So when you start getting in invites and things like that based on your Master of the Universe work, that's plenty. As long as I am able to pay my bills and, you know, make sure I do good art and people are happy with the art, and my clients, especially like the clients who pay for the art, as long as they're happy, I'm good to go. Whether no, I think there are better artists than me out there who are maybe deserve a bigger praise. But yeah, but it is nice to have your own little corner of Master Universe for Revelation. Say, hey, I'm the Revelation guy. You know, I did the work for Revelation on the toys, at least anyway. You know, it's nice, very rewarding.
Super cool. You can see in my background something that you did. It is awesome sorceress.
Yeah, I think that sorceress there was the one that kind of got the attention of Mattel, I think, and stuff like that. And it's a lesson to all artists out there. You know, if you do good work, you will get noticed. So just do good work. Oh, I think you've I think you're breaking up on me there a little bit. You're gonna have to maybe repeat some of that.
Bam, motherfucker.
Because I thought that slide collection.
Oh, Alan, you're gonna have to pause it there or something. I can't hear a word you're saying. You're breaking up like a madman.
You hear me?
You're breaking in. It's all getting.
Now, can you hear me? Nothing.
Maybe go in and come back out again.
Oh my gosh.
Molecular one computer. It's a learning computer. You're leaving me here all alone with the public. Somebody say something in the chat. Somebody give me abuse. And I'm still recording. He's going to go in. I'll drink my cup of tea, which, you know, see this mug here? Good cup of tea is the color of He-Man. Yeah, and the problem is with that, right? If you actually looked at the color of it's pink, no one drinks pink tea. Yes, a good cup of tea is the color of He-Man, but they had one job on this mug. One job to get the color of the tea the same as He-Man to facilitate the punchline. Do you think the company got that right? No.
Awesome. Awesome cup of tea.
Yeah, but I was just saying there, they didn't get it right. It's like they had one job. They had one job. The color of a good cup of tea is the color of He-Man. Yeah. If you look at the color, though, it's pink. It's completely not the right color.
Now it work. You can hear me now.
I can. You're
Okay.
you're still a little, but I can just about understand you. Yes.
Okay, because at this time in Italy we have bad connection. Looks like I call that a Jurassic connection because slow. Frozen again. Connection problems. Sorry for that. Because can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Because at this moment of the day, the connection in Italy is bad, so it become a little bit slow or crazy.
Oh,
Can you hear me? Can you see me?
I can. I think 16shooter say I'm going to burst into flames because I'm so pale. Well, I am redhead, so yeah. And I'm transparent too. All the veins in my arms. All right. The Real Toy Guru. Oh, that's nice. The Real Toy Guru. Is that the Real Toy Guru? Just wanted to say thank you for all your messages. Just to have a huge fan like yourself on the brand screen. That's nice to say. Thank you, Toy Guru. Real Toy Guru. Hit me another question, Alan.
If you can try to do this sometimes not at this time in Italy. Okay, I try. And because now you can hear me. Can you hear me?
I mean, you could just give me questions over the private chat, and I can just try and be entertaining people with jazz hands or something. The Real Toy Guru. Okay, is this like the real Ghostbusters? And you can give me a private chat over the thing. Maybe you can reconnect again. Okay, so while folks are listening there, you can have a look at my Catwoman. Very first action figure I ever did. My Catwoman. Really proud of her. It's the very first figure I ever designed for Mesco. We're like, what was it, 4 years ago? There we go, back now. I could just control the whole thing myself from here. How's that? Can you?
Now I see you because it was totally frozen the situation. I sent you a private message with the question. You got it.
Oh, what's my favorite work that I did for Master Universe and why? Oh, exactly. It's probably between the Scare Glow and the little Hot Wheels box here. Although I'm very happy with the He-Man for the Revelations He-Man. That was him doing that one, and him running with the sword like that one. Those two, I'm really, really happy with those one. Moss Man is probably still my favorite, but I think my favorite one that's due out and you haven't seen it yet is King Grayskull. That I'm very, very, very happy with that one. He was just an incredibly satisfying character to render and paint, and yeah, we really, really proud of that one because I want them to split the swords open, have the big power thing and stuff like that, and all the story of him, and just the colors. I've used colors on him that I've never really used before in another painting. So lots of golds and reds and browns, and I wanted to make him very earthy. So you'll see now, and it might be my favorite one of the whole Revelations stuff that I've done is King Grayskull. I'm very, very, very happy with the King Grayskull one. Triclops is pretty cool too when folks see that one. But I think my favorite one is the regular He-Man. It's just the standard He-Man one. I'm really, 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 really happy with that one because it's just there's just certain poses I always wanted to see He-Man, and I always wanted to see him doing this. He kind of did it a bit in Filmation, but he tended to chuck the sword between both his hands or through it, But my favorite one is him looking bad, and then just charging out of Grayskull. It's just a pose I've always wanted him to do, charging out of Grayskull, powered up, ready to dish out some ass kicking. That's that. I'm very proud of the Battle Cat one too, but the Battle Cat one is kind of based on a bit of style guide artwork, so I can't really take entire credit for the Battle Cat one because the pose was kind of supplied to me and I painted it, kind of thing. But I'm very proud of the Battle Cat one as well. But I think out of all the Masterverse work that I've done, I think probably the Scared Glow. It's probably this, just because it's an exclusive. It was such a thingy. We kind of had Eamon, do something cool was the brief. You know, we want a book kind of thing, but the brief was do something cool. We trust you. And when a client says, do something cool, we trust you, music to every artist's ears. Music to every artist's ears. So, yeah.
Yes, I understand all that the people give also to show your creativity. Super cool that.
I think you're gonna have to post these questions into the private chat, dude. So post them in again, or
okay.
yeah, because you're tuning in and out.
I write now.
Yeah. And maybe we should skip.
It's all right. Another question in the private message because I think it's better.
Sorry about that, folks. It's probably not
sorry, guys.
People. Yeah, don't worry. Did I make a Masterverse replica in your career? No, I've never made done any replicas. No, I haven't. No, no, I haven't. Did I make any? I mean, I've got this.
Awesome.
You know, and it's signed by Lou Scheimer, so that's cool. You can see Lou's signature there. There you go. Yeah, look at that. Lou Scheimer, baby. On a Sword of Power. How good is that? Yeah, so there you go.
Awesome.
Really proud of that one. That's very cool. So yeah, that's about the only kind of replica I have. Oh, I have this other sword here, but it's based on the Mondo sword.
Awesome.
Hold on. There you go. I'm still painting it. I still haven't finished painting it yet, but it's this one.
Wow. This one is bigger than the other one.
Yeah. It's based on the Mondo He-Man sword, so it is. It's a bit messy, but it's got a cool skull. It's got a cool skull kind of hit on the front there. That's pretty cool.
Wow, that's super cool. The skull and the skull is super cool.
Yeah, well, this is based on the Mondo. This is a sword based on the Mondo He-Man, 12-inch figure. Yeah, so I just think that's just pretty cool. It's I haven't quite finished painting it yet. So, but it's something I'll get around to finishing someday. I started doing it during the first lockdown rather. So yeah, I've got a cool. And the only other sword I want to get now is the movie sword, Dolph Lundgren's sword. Yeah. That's the sword I've always wanted to own because I still think that's a really nice sword design.
I did on this channel. I did 2 interviews with William Stout on this channel.
Bill Stout's the man. Well, what a gent he is. I'm friends with Bill Stout, man. He's great. He's great, Bill Stout. He'll chat away to you, man.
Yes, he's awesome.
And what an artist as well.
Yes. I did 2 episodes of this show with William, and now become a friend. So his journey as an artist is unbelievable. He works with many interesting stuff.
Yeah, he's got some great stories of Hollywood as well, man. A lot of stuff that Bill Stout did for the movie, man, is great. And indeed, a lot of artists they hired a lot of artists to do stuff for the movie back in the 80s. David Negron, Mobius, there's Ralph McQuarrie as well did some designs for the movie, and it's like I think there could be a whole separate art book on the movie on itself. I've always wanted to do an art book because there's some great art produced and stuff like that. So myself, Emiliano, and Joshua Van Pelter were big lovers of the movies. We try to track down everything we can for the movie kind of thing. And then of course there's Martin in Germany. Then he gets all the props, doesn't he? Martin Ruffier. I can never pronounce his last name, but he's a German guy anyway. You need to get him on the podcast, on your thing as well. He owns the original He-Man armor, the full thing. He owns the original Skeletor armor, the full thing. He has the Cosmic Key. He's got the Troopers. He's got the Eternian Troopers. He's got everything. Martin Ruffier is his name, and you'll find him on Facebook. But yeah, he's got literally everything from the movie, and he just buy it all up. And so it's been great stuff and things because it was I was trying to do a post years ago, and he was kind of helping me out with
I like the cosmic concept because the concept of the power of music is so cool. This idea that music can open the dimension.
You might have to push that in the chat one.
Uh,
Put that in the chat. Type it down.
Okay,
It's funny because you some moments you're fine, and the next minute it just dips in and out. I would maybe switch off your. It's a pity we can't. Turn off anything you have in the background. If you got Skype or Messenger or anything else, turn them all off. I would say just turn off everything.
Close. Everything is closed.
Okay. Sometimes, yeah, that can happen to me too. I do a podcast as well. You can see, but you're fine now. So let's do it. You got to win now. Talk.
It's work now. I don't know.
No, go. Quick, give me a question, quick. You got a window.
Okay. I like the problem is that in Italy at this time the connection is so bad. The problem is that it's the time in Italy.
Everyone's got
is the reason why, and also I'm fortunate for that because my guest in general from US in the nights 3 a.m., 2 a.m. works.
Yeah, it is. Everyone's at home on the internet now, and everyone's putting the kettle on and stuff.
Yes, exactly. But there is a general question. What is your feelings about the new show, Master of the Universe Revelation? In my opinion, as a writer, I like the challenge that they made for this show because they killed the man in the beginning. They put Orko in a different position in the story. They put something that some reference for the vintage toys like Playset Eternia. So in general, I like the story. The only way maybe I not like so much is the background. Looks like if you compare the background with the characters, I had these feelings. What do you think about the cartoon in general Revelation?
You cut off just a little bit at the end there, but you were talking about like that you weren't big on the kind of the background and stuff like that. This is something that I've often said about anybody who takes over a Master Universe brand. It can be comics, movies, or an animation. They all seem to miss some key ingredients, and this is not to say that I for the record, I love Master Universe Revelation. It's not what I would have chosen, but I'm not a creator. I'm not at Netflix. Other people do the job. It's not necessarily quite the story I would have told yet, but it is a story that I think should have been told. It's a good story. My issue with it is I think we needed a few episodes of normality and then show the world, because let's face it, who doesn't love that first episode with Triclops flying a sky sled? I mean, that's all awesome. And just Grayskull being attacked and the Bashosaurus and He-Man chucking stuff around. It's like, give me that for 3 episodes at least, and then change it and do a big skip ahead. That's my only issue with it. I do think what we have now should have been the second series, not the first one. But this is what we got, and I love it, and I thought it was great. The animation is glorious. What all people do tend to miss with Masters of the Universe, and it's in comics, none of the modern comic books have gotten it, and none of the modern tellings have gotten it, and I include 2002 with that. And it is the funky, psychedelic 70s weirdness. The pulpy, retro, pulp sci-fi funkiness that you saw both in the artwork on the toys and especially in the Filmation show with the weird gnarly forests, gnarly trees. Grayskull is literally a skull that's held up together with other bones. All this stuff that's far out funky inside Castle Grayskull is like this crazy. It's not like a real castle at all. It's like a portal into something else. I love all that. What Filmation did for me was give Master Universe a real sense of distinction and a language. There is a language to Master Universe, and it comes from the influences at the time, which was 70s pulp sci-fi and fantasy. And that, for me, is a key ingredient of what makes Master Universe great and why we love it. And Mike Young didn't quite get that, but Mike Young got a lot of other things. They did great. Mike Young is awesome. 2002 He-Man rocks. 4 Horsemen figures, everything, except for He-Man. That He-Man figure is terrible. But everything else rocks. There was no weirdness in the Mike Young show, but what they brought to Mike Young, I thought they brought coherent plot and coherent story and things like that. They dropped the Marlena being from Earth, which was not cool, and they dropped the whole Earth angle, which is not cool. Whatever about Master Universe, I've always loved the attachment to Earth. I feel that one of the reasons why He-Man is so powerful and so strong is because his mother is from Earth and his father is from Eternia. And I think that's why He-Man is so powerful. And that's one of the things and things that I quite like about that angle. But in all, it'd be the DC Comics or the Dark Horse Comics, whoever's publishing the comics books this week, they miss the funky, weird aspects of it. And that's lost in the Revelation show as well. What we get in Revelation show is beautiful animation. But it's quite stock fantasy. And it's the same with the DC Comics as well. It's a little too generic fantasy for me. We could be reading a Thor story or something else, you know, but for me, He-Man, there's a gritty but colorful, pulpy quality that's innately 70s and early 80s quality to Master Universe that is just not there in anything except for Filmation and the early mini comics and stuff like that. And I do think that is missing from the Revelation show. Everything else about it is lovely. I love the world building that they have. They go down to pre-Eternia. All these things. That's all very cool. But for me, there are things about Masters of the Universe that do distinguish it from Thor, from Conan, and all Star Wars, and all these other things. And it annoys me when I see these very talented, creative guys not dipping their toe into that and going down to more, what I would call more modern sensibilities. Everyone wants to. They try to make things bigger than they actually need to be. And the case of the point with Revelation, I don't think the story of Revelation needed to be quite as big as it was. It's like, oh, we're going to do something big and bombastic. Really? Well, you did. You did. How did it go, guys? Would it not have been better just to kind of give us something a little bit safe and then go bombastic later? But, again, that's their decisions. That's creators, and that's what they do. And that, again, is not to take it because they did the great job. I would just put a little bit of more thought into things first, because I think for Revelation it's a bit of the trifecta, isn't it? You killed He-Man, you made Teela the focus, and for some, sadly, you gave Teela that haircut, which is just ridiculous because you look at any Viking lady. I think a lot of people miss the fact that she's a Viking. She was based on a Viking design, and that is not woke or any of that kind of. I hate that word, woke. It's not any of that kind of crack. It's just she got that haircut. But I think people would have accepted the Teela story because for a lot of us, as a kid anyway, once He-Man and Skeletor went off to Primus or whatever, who was left running the Masters? It was going to be Teela. So in my head canon, Teela was always going to be a big, big, big player. So that's not a problem for me. But I think for a lot of people out there, I think it was a trifecta of killing He-Man, then Teela, and having no Skeletor in it. And it's three things there. One or two of those maybe, but not all three. And I think that's maybe where the mistake kind of thing. And, I love Kevin Smith and stuff like that, but, you can. The story is still focused on He-Man, but what the internet is like. People aren't very bright on the internet. They're going to look at what's given them. They have to be spoon-fed something. They don't. They don't think. Well, it is still about He-Man because she's obsessed with He-Man. The two people are kind of pining over this and that. The story is still He-Man centered. There's just not a lot of He-Man in it. And I think for a brand new show, in the first one in like nearly 20, actually 20 years, nearly 19 years, I think they should have played it safe for at least a few episodes and then gone the time jump and try. Because for me, Triclops and Trapjaw's story needed a bit of breathing room. That is interesting stuff. Them deciding not to continue on with the Conquering of Eternia, they go all technical. Well, why did Triclops and Trapjaw get all into the techno virus. And why did they do that? They just up and did it. I would have liked more time. I would like to have had more time. And I think they maybe should have had more episodes or just push things a little long further or whatever kind of thing. But none of this should take away from the fact that I love it. I think it's extremely well made. The music is amazing from Bear McCreary. It's objectively high quality. And I absolutely love it. And of course, then we've got the CGI He-Man now, don't we? So we can talk about that too, kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, did you like Revelation?
Yes, in general, I like because I like the challenge that they take for the story. In my opinion, as a writer, I like the challenge. Yes, maybe you take some risk, especially because of what do you say a few moments ago about put the focus on Tila and not on He-Man. So also some background about Triclops stuff and why it become it create this group could be interesting. So about that, and also I agree also about the haircut of Tila. That, by the way, remember me, a professional wrestler of the WWE, Rhea Ripley. That's something like that about the haircut.
Yeah. How many WWE chicks have got that hairdo? You know, I get a lot of people like, oh, but it's like, no, it's a Viking haircut. It's not what you think. Whatever. It's just funny. It's like she looks like a Viking. You know, she's still wearing her white stuff on it, but she's got a breastplate on. She's got a Viking. Also, as well, they're buff as well. I mean, she is ripped as Tila, and but I think that's great because all the guys are ripped. Everyone in Eternia has got to be ripped. So I'm cool with all that. But I think just for a lot of people who of a certain persuasion, I just think there was too many things to go wah to, and wah
Exactly.
no wah.
What do you think about the other show, the CGI? To me, it looks like too much Fortnite styles to me. But I understand that the target for this one is the kids, so it's a different target. But what do you think about CGI show?
Well, oddly enough, I literally just finished it earlier on this week. I finished it on Wednesday night. I finally watched the last episode. I have to say, I found it a little irritating when I first started watching. I was like, "Whoa, crikey, is this?" You know, there's aimed at kids, and then there's squarely focused at kids. You know, like really like Pingu level of focus on kids. And I thought that was a little bit much initially. However, as it went along, and as we got to Skeletor, I started seeing what they were doing. And overall, I actually think it's an incredibly well executed show. I think the animation is absolutely stunning. The voice acting is great, and all the rest of it. I really do take issue with them messing with the story of Masters of the Universe again here, though. I don't understand why. How many stories is about an orphan with a destiny? An orphan with a destiny is just done to death. And it's just completely unoriginal as far as I'm concerned. Oh, look, it's an orphan in the jungle. He finds a magical sword. It's like, And it's like, that's unoriginal. But, you know, they're aiming it for kids. And I'm sure they sat down in focus groups and ticked all the boxes what kids do and don't like. And it does feel box ticky in terms of kids like this, kids like that, kids like that, don't do that, don't do that. Power up, show the power up the whole time. Repeat the power up maybe once or twice per episode. Have them all power up. Tick, 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 tick. And it's all a bit like that. And as a result of that kind of box ticket, it feels a little soulless and a little clinical. But I am a grown-up man of 40-something years old, and it's not aimed at me. It is aimed at the little kids. And if kids are up for a fantasy show with swords and powerful heroes that really do a lot of ass kicking, and it's all kind of, everyone's kind of got their power and everyone does their thing. It's really superb at that. I think it does an exceptional job at that. Maybe not exceptional, but it does a good job at that. I do feel story is very important. And for me, Masters of the Universe has a story. It is about a very spoiled boy. It is about a very spoiled boy with an amazing destiny who doesn't necessarily want that destiny. We are talking about a person that becomes He-Man, and He-Man himself said, every time I become He-Man, I hope it's for the last time. I love that line from Filmation. And all that stuff isn't really tapped on and things. And the relationship with Tila and all these things, and his father especially, you know, the father's disappointed. He's got to hide the secret from his father, but he's this hero and all the rest of it. I think that's a far more interesting dynamic than yet another. And I know in the CGI show they are dipping their slight toe into that, but at the end of the day, he's from the jungle tribe. And I just didn't get all that. I'm just like, why did you do that? Because Spider-Man and Batman have all these incarnations. You know, they have all these mad incarnations. But one thing is always true about Spider-Man and Batman, no matter what incarnation it be, Batman Unlimited, Batman Beyond, any of the rest of them. Alfred will always be his butler. He will always live in a Batcave. There's always going to be a Batmobile he's going to ride on. The Joker's going to do this. The Penguin's going to do that. Spider-Man is the same. He's always going to, always going to be Aunt May. There's always going to be Uncle Ben who dies that motivates him to power versus responsibility, blah, 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 blah. To me, these are the iconic things that companies should, that's why Spider-Man and Batman has the longevity, because they have different versions of retelling that same story. With this CGI, you've kind of dropped all that stuff. And I know people will come in and say, yeah, but He-Man was a barbarian in the first 3 or 4 mini comics. Yeah. So the He-Man that we know is the Prince Adam, who's the spoiled prince who wears pink, who likes, you know, doesn't like to work, doesn't like to change into He-Man, is this specific thing. And for me, them dropping that notion and dropping the kind of core masters, again, every person who wants to get their hands in the Master Universe wants to change it into a generic fantasy. And that, for me, bothers me, because He-Man is not a generic fantasy. Just like Star Wars is not a generic science fiction. He-Man is not generic fantasy. He-Man is a cocktail of things. And I feel that some of that stuff gets lost in the new iterations, and all the new iterations, actually. And again, that's not to disparage any of the great creatives that are on these things, because there are some amazingly talented people on all the comic books. Tim Seeley, Rob David, all these guys are all super talented dudes writing these things and doing the stuff. It's just, I always feel that they want He-Man to be something else, and they're trying to carve it into something else that I feel it kind of isn't. For me, it's pulp, what they call Sword and Planet. It has that vibe to it. It has a John Carter, Flash Gordon, Conan, splashes Star Wars, splashes Lord of the Rings in it, and it's all these things. And that's one of the reasons why Star Wars works, because it is a cocktail. I think one of the reasons why Masterverse worked back in the day, because it is a cocktail. It has the little science fiction nods in it, but it's primarily sword and sorcery with some science fiction bits in it. And I think this new CGI show and some of the other ones, they tend to go one way or another, especially with the CGI show. It's like it's a very science fiction. It feels very like Eternia feels like Asgard in the movies. And that to me is a little unoriginal. It's lovely. It looks beautiful. The designs are great. King Randor looks great. And I do like He-Man's design. It's fine. They gave him an undershirt. The H logo is a very good solution to the problem. But I feel iconic story. Clark Kent will always be a kid sent from Krypton, landing on Earth, who has a hard time growing up trying to keep a secret. That is a tentpole of Clark Kent. And for me, the people tend to lose reinventing He-Man so much that it's just kind of like it may as well not be He-Man. It's a lovely cartoon. It doesn't feel very He-Man. That's what I will say about it.
Yes, that's true. And also, in my opinion, I think that the story, and especially in a franchise and a brand like He-Man, is so important. Also, the backstory for each characters. And if you remember Filmation, each episode, when also as a writer, I rewatch in these days also the Master of Universe series of Filmation, and when you are in the middle of the episode, it's difficult wonder how will be the finals. It's not a formula, a basic formula that you can maybe you got the spoiler of the end during the show, because sometimes in the animation show are very simple, the story, and you can wonder always the end when you're in the middle of the show. But Filmation, they are so unique and original to develop the story in the episode, and I like that. And I like also how they create some backstory, like example between Tila and the sorcerers in the episode. Tila discovered the sorcerer was her mother and later forgot because he there's a rules that he don't he deserve to don't know that. So also some feelings about the relationship father mother. Interesting. I like that. I think it's important for that filmation. And filmation did this job also for each series we talked about earlier, Bracer or Filmation Ghostbuster. Each of these episodes of this show are cool for the artwork, but especially for the story, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, when you get to like episodes specifically written by like J. Michael Straczynski and stuff like that and things, you start getting to episodes like the bottom line is, there's a lot of cartoons that were made in the 80s. There's only a few of them I can actually stomach watching now. And old school filmation, not every episode now, mind you. I think about 50% of maybe the He-Man episodes now are maybe a bit hard to watch, but I do think there's 50% that are actually, that's a pretty good story. The Problem of Power is a good story. Disappearing Dragons is a good story. The Cat and the Spider. It's a good story, it's artifacts. But what I loved about those Filmation things and things, it plays on tropes and big story that were always, Michael Straczynski and all these kinds of guys, they are old school storytellers, but they dip into these old stories work for a reason. The Bible works because it's a good story, right? And we hold on to these stories. And story plot points and all these kinds of things. And I think Filmation did a very good job of really, knowing what was story and presented those. And I think in today's high octane, high energy, short attention span kids, it's like, I'm not quite sure what the story is with the CGI show. All I know is that it's the power of Skeletor gets the power of Havoc, changes a couple of dudes, and He-Man gets the power of Grayskull and powers up a few dudes. I'm not getting a more grander story than kind of that. And I think that's, but that's, we're two old guys talking about a show that is aimed at kids below the age of 10. So I really don't think we've got room to be going on here and stuff like that. But in the same way that Batman fans can have, or Batman or Superman fans can have an opinion on either of modern interpretations, we too can have a comment on the modern interpretation and say, I think it's important that Prince Adam has a relationship with what we love about, one of the things we love about Prince Adam is, and they approached in the Revelation TV series, that Queen Marlena always knew that her boy was He-Man. And for me, I think that's I think that's quite important for a lot of people to grow up with. And mother knows, and it's these important things. It's these simple things that are always these kinds of story tropes. They might be old fashioned, but they work, That's what I quite like. And I love that about the Filmation show. And they brought them to Filmation. And then, by the way, anyone who says that Revelation isn't a continuum of Filmation, what are you talking about? Look at Orko's table when they walk in. There's all these little trinkets from Filmation show. There's all these little nods from the Filmation show. And when Evelyn and Orko were sat down talking about their previous adventures, you're not talking about what's running through your head, because what's running through my head is the Filmation show. They couldn't say directly it's a Filmation continuation. He had to say it in the spirit of, and it very much is. But let's face it, it is a continuation of the Filmation show. And I think people are, again, you don't need to be spoon-fed. Use your brains. It is a continuation. The way He-Man is, the way Teela talks about He-Man, well, that's Filmation He-Man. Skeletor, you're all wet. Well, that's Filmation He-Man. That's not 2002 He-Man. That certainly isn't movie He-Man. It's Filmation He-Man. So I get very annoyed with fans that you don't use their brain enough, to be honest, or just want to go down because they want to go down the path of being negative about things and stuff. And it's like, for me, Revelation is very much a continuation of the Filmation show. But what they've done at Revelation, they've Mattelized it. And I love that about it, because they brought in Exploding Rocks. They brought in all the iconography that Mattel created for the brand. And I really like that. I've waffled there.
Yes, I agree with you. I also believe that I'm agree with you for that. I also believe that many people maybe start to watch that with bad vibes in the beginning. No, in my opinion, you need to watch. When I start to watch a Revelation, I try to watch this with not to relate this one with Filmation, like I did also for the movie of 1987, but I watched that to watch another way to tell the story of a man.
Mm.
And this is the good vibe, good vibes. Not start to complain in the beginning before to start because this is not Filmation. Watch that like a new way to discover this war. I think this is the better way to enjoy the show, in my opinion.
I mean, the animation is just—it's a beautiful looking show. It's a beautiful show, but there's a few little gaffes along the way. I think that where I think you could have avoided. I think Kevin and the gang could have avoided a lot of things had they not done certain things, and I think that and it is a bit of an annoyance because I don't know. It's just I was so excited. To be working on, I'm working on Revelation. Look at me, I'm working on all this stuff, and to kind of have, even when I'm posting my art, you'll get some monkey coming in with a comment about Teal. I'm like, get the F out of here with that, man. Don't bring your backward thinking on my Facebook or my Twitter or my Instagram or whatever. I don't know. It's a strange thing. It's a strange thing. I cannot help but feel that if that Masterverse Revelation show was released 10 years ago, people wouldn't have said a thing. People wouldn't have batted an eyelid. It's kind of like my issue with Ripley. I pretty much would imagine if Aliens, the movie, was released now, people would call it woke. So it's just, because it's awesome with a gun and she's rescuing the kid. And the dudes are all dead. But I'm super excited for 20th to 22nd of November. It can't come quickly enough. I'm really excited to see what happens to the story. I'm expecting a big fight between He-Man and Skeletor, or is it He-Man? I mean, what do you think? Is that dude going to be? Is that Olar, or is that Adam with a weird not power of Grayskull in him? What do you think Savage He-Man is?
Maybe it's difficult to wonder what is the version of He-Man could be. In my opinion, could be something related with another world, another dimension. I see that because I saw a preview of because if you watch the toys, the upcoming wave, you can get a spoiler or something like that. And I saw that a new look, a barbaric man look, and also with Orko in 2-pack. So I believe we saw Orko disappear in the first season. Maybe is another dimension. Maybe is in a dimension like in the beginning of like on the comic book version of the Savage Man. So I believe it's possible that the real man maybe is along with Orko in this another pre-Eternia stuff of prehistoric way. This is my opinion.
See, I love that. To me, that excites the hell out of me. I mean, I really like sitting back here and wondering, what's happening there? Is that going to be Olar or is that going to be Savage? Just like we're talking right now. And I love that. And people say the Mattel were silly releasing the figures, but everyone's buzzing on top of it. Like we were all dying to see what Skelly God was about. Because Skelly God was actually the very first figure they released for some weird reason. But what I liked about it, they kind of generated about Skelly God. What is Skelly God about? People think, it's big major spoiler there. I'm like, well, kind of was, but it kind of also wasn't. It kind of got us really kind of intrigued as to what it was, And I love that we're sat here talking and wondering and about it again, kind of thing, and wondering what's going to happen. I'm super excited. I can't wait to see what happens. I hope we get to see more characters. I'd like to see a couple of our other. I'd like to see Ram Man show up for starters. Where the hell is Ram Man? Where's Many Faces? I hope all those guys show up as well, kind of thing. But look, whenever these characters, Masterverse characters, are taken seriously and they're written by people who are well intended and are good, I'm just happy with that. I'm happy with that because we've had a few. There's been a few kind of like New Adventures of He-Man is just what? Oh God, why did you even bother with that? It's just why even bother with New Adventures of He-Man? It's just awful. So it's kind of like when we know that we can have bad He-Man, but so when we get good He-Man, I'm all for it. But I'm just happy to be reading these characters and stuff like that. I do just wish that we maybe just kind of got a little bit more funky would be my word. Funky.
Yes, I can't wait to see the season 2 of the show.
Well, part two. We don't know if we're getting a season 2 yet. Fingers crossed, we will get a part 2. Or sorry, a second season. We're waiting for part 2 of season 1. But we all got our fingers crossed for an actual season 2. So, and I
call season 2 maybe because we was a while ago the first part, so it looks like 2 different seasons because of the different time to the schedule.
But think of it like The Walking Dead, the way The Walking Dead split up their seasons, don't they, a little bit kind of thing, which seems to be the done thing now. I think it's these companies because they're right up to the wire with the animation, so they'll do the animation and then they can release. Oh, we've got those done and release that, and while that's running, we can get finished on the other batch, then kind of thing. I think it's a cool way to do it, really, kind of thing. But I mean, who knows? Maybe had they released one big hit and continue on the rest of the story, and people would have seen more He-Man, then maybe things would have gone a bit smoother and things like that. But yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, it's going to be good.
Yes. Across. And now it's time for the last question. But before, if you want to come back in the future in my show, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
The last question is, finger crossed to have a better connection because today the connection is not good. But the last question is, there is something in your desk, a dream that you never, a dream that you never realized until now in your career, and that's still your dream in your future. What is your dream as an artist now?
Do I answer this as an artist or as a Masters of the Universe fan? Because I've got an answer for each. As you have an answer. As an artist, okay. Well, you kind of broke up the answer. As an artist, I have a movie concept, and I've had a movie concept for the last, since I was about age 20. I'm in my mid-40s now, so I've had a movie concept in my head now for the last 20 odd years, and I've been working hard at it, and I'm still working away at it, and I would love that to make that into a movie one day. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But I will try, and I will try and get it made. And I will first of all release it as a graphic novel, and it's called The Gatekeeper. Yes, it's a story that I've been working on for quite a long time, and it's a vision of people who are desperate with a lot of power, and what happens to people who are desperate and have a lot of power. And it's got time travel in it, but it's not about time travel. And it's got a female lead, and she's kick-ass. And it's got a little bit of environmental thing too. But yeah, I've been working on this thing for years, and I'm hoping, to start to get, I've had advice from movie people. I've shown it to a few movie people. Everyone likes it, and I think I've got something here. But everybody and their dog has a concept for a movie these days. So I'm not going to get it made or anything like that. But what I will do is I'll hopefully get a decent graphic novel made, and that's hopefully what I will do. As a Masters of the Universe fan, I just hope to keep working on the brand for Mattel. Really, I'm very happy to be continuing to work on stuff like that. And stuff. I believe all my Revelation work is now done anyway. I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing any more. Fingers crossed, I will keep on. If there's a season 2, maybe I will. I don't know. They have lots of other. You got to understand. There's people queuing up and knocking on Mattel's door to work on this stuff. So it's lucky for any of us to get working in them. And so other people have got the whole situation locked up with their services and stuff like that. So I'm happy to get whatever I get, kind of a thing. But also as well, my own action figures. I want to create my own action figures one day.
Awesome.
And I've just recently put to bed some action figures that are 100% my own unique design. They're not like I can design a Catwoman for you. This is my Catwoman for Mezco. I can design Catwoman, but it's she still has to look like Catwoman. These that I'm working on at the moment are my brand new unique designs. Really excited for it. It's from a very cool company that's already been releasing a couple of figures, and hopefully we'll see those in the next 6 months or so. But I'd really like to get my own. I've got a couple of ideas that I'm working on at the moment to get my own particular action figure made of a particular character that's never been made into an action figure before. Anyone who's Irish knows what I'm talking about. Anyone who isn't Irish won't have a clue what I'm talking about, but it is cool. So hopefully I'm going to try and get that made as well at some stage. I'm in talks and things like that. So it's kind of, you know, I've got a lot of things that I'd like to keep doing and things like that. But I think probably my biggest dream as an artist would be to get the Gatekeeper made, my creation, my story, my graphic novel, whatever you want to call it, my movie pitch made into an actual movie. Because I'm like looking at all these science fiction movies and Oates and Love, Death and Robots and all these Amazon things, and I'm just like, I've got a better story. I think my story's better than that. But then again, we all do, right? So
Wow, so super cool dream. Did you have a super project that you have? I like it.
yeah, I'm not modest at all about my big dreams. Yeah, there's no shortage of delusions of grandeur here.
Awesome. I believe also if you did this a possible toyline with your design will be, because I know your talent should be very interesting. Maybe you can do a Kickstarter project for your toyline. Could be.
Well, that's what I'm looking at avenues. I'm definitely looking at avenues, because it would be kind of, yeah, it's already, it's the design is done. I have it done. It's right here. But it's just a case of presenting it and getting it right done and convincing certain individuals that, hey, this will actually sell, kind of thing. I don't know. I'm going to have to do some research with it. But my other figures that I've designed are part of another line, but they're entirely, hey, Eamon, we want your version of this. And they've asked me, do this, please. And I'm really excited. So hopefully they'll be revealed soon. And it's like, you know, it's always lovely working on other brands, be it Master Universe or Star Wars or whatever. You know, or Marvel or DC. It's lovely, but you're always under the umbrella of, hey, it has to look like the Batman, it has to look like the Captain America, it has to look like these. When you're given a brief from your client says, Eamon, we trust you, do something cool.
Awesome. That's awesome.
That's living the dream, that is.
And now I go to the piano to the final moments. Thanks for watching, everyone. Enjoy the show with an amazing artist with the power of Grayskull himself, Eamon O'Donoghue. And don't forget to follow his social media profile to enjoy his art. Thank you so much, Eamon, to enjoy the show. And I hope that you come back, because to talk a lot about his art, your art, and in art in general. Because I like your style, I like your enthusiasm, because of enthusiasm, I understand you are big inspiration every day, and it's super cool for an artist.
Thanks, Dan. Thank you very much, Nina. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
It's been great coming on.
So goodbye to everyone. Bye-bye, everyone. See you soon next week. Another interview on Friday, so stay tuned for on Friday next week, 29, another interview in my show. Goodbye to everyone.